What's up, everybody? Peter X, this O'Coffer here, doing another episode of Classic Songs, and today we're doing the master, Bob Dylan. Going a little sideways with Bob. Today we're doing Lay Lady Lay from 1969. This is a song, let's see here. So this song hit number 7 on the Billboard chart. It was Bob's fourth top 10 song, but last top 10 song. So here it is, the legendary Bob Dylan, 1969. He hasn't been in the top 10 since 1969. And it's a love song. It's a ballad. He's trying to seduce. And that's not, when you think of Bob Dylan, that's not what you're thinking of. I mean, you know, Dylan, started. I mean, all the great lyricists go back to Dylan. John Lennon. They met. There's John Lennon, the lyricist before he met Bob Dylan, and and then John Lennon afterwards. The same for Kurt Cobain. Even Prince. He doesn't. They're both from Minnesota. I don't know if I don't even know if they met or if Prince ever spoke of Dylan, but he's in that. Prince was a great songwriter. I mean, Dylan was great with using the imagery and symbolism, and Prince particularly, really from Controversy on, he was he brought in those elements of symbolism and painting a picture and an image. He was also really good at the emotional lyrics, even going back to when we're dancing close and slow. So Dylan's that guy when it comes to lyrics. This song he sings in his lower register. People are used to the nasally high pitched Dylan, but that he doesn't use that vocal here. And also going back to Dylan, looking at the notes there, going back to Dylan's uh, his calling card is also he's a great storyteller and so those are the three. I mean, using the imagery, using symbolism, being a great storyteller. Um, he was good at those. The other thing that maybe he wasn't as good as, and maybe Prince was using, I don't know, active words. Using words that stoke emotion. I mean, Dylan was painted more of a picture and made you think, and Prince, had that fourth ability that but Dylan had all of the four. Dylan had three of those before Prince came along, and this is what Dylan was known for. And this is and Lay Lady Lay is a really laid back song, very kind of subtle, but very effective. I mean, the acoustic guitar that is used in this. Um, Interestingly, so originally, Dylan wrote this song, get this, for Barbra Streisand and wanted to do a duet, and didn't quite work out. The song's in A major. It's 3 minutes 17 seconds. A lot of folks have redone this song early on. I think even before he released it, he played it for the Everly Brothers, and they couldn't figure out whether he was letting them, hey, take this song or whatnot. So, at first Dylan didn't want this song, and so they were kind of confused with what Dylan. But the Everly Brothers ended up doing a version of Lay Lady Lay themselves after, I think, the next year, either later in 69 or 1970. And so they use acoustic guitars, but it's a little, well, no, I mean, the drums are stronger, and it's actually the Everly Brothers version is a more aggressive version than Dylan's, which is interesting. Um, and then he was close with the Byrds, and the Byrds redid it, if not in 69, 70. For some reason, they left the, they left the studio and with a version, and it was released. I think it was released as a B-side to a single, though, if I'm not mistaken. And, the producer put a female choir in there, and they weren't real happy about that. So they did an alternate version. The alternate version is available on all the streaming services. Just out of curiosity, I tried to find the version with a female choir, and not yeah, that ain't even on YouTube. That's probably worth some money now if you have that single, that B side of the Byrds, Lay Lady Lay with a female choir, because they weren't happy, and obviously they made that go away. So I talked about the Byrds and the Everly Brothers covers. Duran Duran did a nice cover in the 80s, maybe I didn't know what year. I assume it's the 80s because that's when Duran Duran was Duran Duran, but they did go into the 90s. Liked it. It's kind of Duran Duran. Ministry has a very interesting industrial metal band, and they have an industrial metal version of this, which is interesting. It's not very seductive, but it is, and there's a lot of reverb, or for lay person, echo and digital delay. So there's a lot of echo in it, but it's interesting. I don't, again, it ain't gonna get you anywhere in the bedroom. Let's see, talk about the Isley Brothers version. No, I didn't. So the Isley Brothers did a version, looks like in the early 70s. And this is the one that uses the acoustic, the guitars. They use like 3 of them. And it's pretty close to the original. And of course, you think Isley Brothers, you think R&B, but it really wasn't. And their version is stretched out to 10 minutes and 22 seconds with no solo. So, it works. It's not a bad version. It's, the Isley Brothers, back in the 70s would do interesting cover versions. They did this. They did Spill the Wine from War. Did a really good version of that. They did, what they do? Ohio, which they did a really good version of. I think Buffalo Springfield, the killings at Kent State. They did a really good version of that. And Summer Breeze, they did a nice version of on par with what Seals and Croft did. So, they did their thing, the Isley Brothers, and would borrow from other folks and do their songs. And last but not least, my man Isaac Hayes did it's a straight R&B cover. It's Isaac being Isaac. It's a little longer, and Isaac, drops a nice sax solo in there. So yeah. But yeah, got to give Bob Dylan his props. I mean, in the last year and a half, 2 years, he sold his catalog, went for, big money. Bob Dylan's a legend. Love his storytelling. I think a lot of when you think of great hip hop lyricists, Nas and Ice Cube, great storytellers, goes back to Dylan. I don't know. Probably they listened to Dylan. They had to have. And with musicians, other genres, they don't care. But those two had to have listened to Dylan. I mean, they're great. All 3 of them are great storytellers in their own right. So, yeah, just, a quick one here. Had to give Bob Dylan some love and put a little swerve on Bob Dylan because, Dylan could be pretty political. Hey, just switching it up. But yeah, so let me hit this close. Thanks for coming through. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I have 5 albums of my own, working on number 6. Hopefully it'll be out in a couple weeks. Record under the name Exodus, Xodus. My first album is called Book 1. I also write science fiction and fantasy, and have 2 novels and a novella on Amazon. So thanks again. Appreciate you coming through, and I will see you next episode.